Well, our next guest is the CEO of Lino. Lino is a decentralized distributed video streaming platform based on blockchain technology. Lino has previously raised and secured over $20 million in a private token sale led by the ZhenFund. The founder's name is Wilson Wei, and he has created this company because there is a need for the ability to stream the digital content with more secure platforms. So he is a graduate of the UC Berkeley, and Haas School of Business. And while attending UC Berkeley, he was the president of the Association of the Chinese Entrepreneurs. So please welcome to the stage, Wilson Wei.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Wilson Wei, and I'm the founder of Lino. I want to start with a very simple question. So how many people here watch YouTube? Please raise your hand. Like around 80 people, 80% of the people? Like, seriously? So let me start the question again. So how many of you do not watch YouTube? Raise your hand. Okay, that's right. About 99% of the people actually use YouTube. So YouTube is a monopoly in the market, and what we are trying to do is a decentralized autonomous content economy. Today, I want to share with all of you about why we are doing Lino and why there is a demand for a decentralized autonomous content economy. Why decentralization is not like, okay, I want to create a token, then decentralization is not true. So let's start with a very famous theory by Pierre Thiel, the monopoly theory. So here's the quote. So if you are an entrepreneur starting a company, you always want to look for the monopoly instead of any kind of competition. So why is that so good about monopoly? What is the key advantage that a monopoly can have? Nope. Profit, right? So, madam, you mentioned pricing. That's absolutely correct. If you can manipulate the pricing and also the margin, ultimately, that goes to your profit. So as an entrepreneur, traditional entrepreneur, or any type of investors, people are always looking for higher and higher profit margins. And being a monopoly in the market is the biggest advantage, and it can ensure you to have the highest margin possible in the market. So how is that exactly worked out? So let's see an example of a landlord and a farmer. So for example, let's assume there is only one landlord in the whole world, and basically it makes this landlord a monopoly in the market. And there's a farmer who can only work for this landlord and without any kind of alternatives. So if the cost of producing a potato is around $1, let's say, and the market price of that potato is $10, what is the margin? What is the gross margin for that landlord? Is that $10 minus whatever amount that you pay for the farmer, right? And so the key question here is the profit sharing. How much do you want to give to the farmer? What is the long-term equilibrium in this situation? So because the landlord here is a monopoly, and the landlord as an individual or any type of private entity, they're profit-driven. The only goal that they have is to maximize their profits, and therefore, the long-term equilibrium here is, as long as I can keep the farmer work for me, keep them sustainable, I can take as much as I can. And that means the long-term equilibrium is, I'll just pay off the farmer $1 plus 1 cent of profit for them. And then I keep the rest of 89.99% of the margin. That's my profit. So that's a very simple example in a very simple situation. So in the real life, how the monopolies in the market plays out, how do they increase their margin? So YouTube, as an example, as we mentioned before, YouTube is absolutely a huge monopoly in the market. It's currently taking around like a 50% revenue split with content creators. And if you are a content creator and you just happen to use like multi-channel network, eventually you'll get only like 38% of the ad revenue. But let's say if I'm YouTube, what is exactly in my mind right now? I'm taking like 50% of the revenue, of the ad revenue. That makes my profit margin, like my gross margin about like 50%. And I'm YouTube, I belong to Google, and we have a stock pressure. We have pressure from the board, the investors. We always want to increase revenue year by year, and market is already, I already don't dominate the whole market. There is no more room for growing. What should I do to increase my profit? You got to be creative. So one thing I can think of is what? So in a lot of marketing theory or pricing theory, there is one thing called pricing discrimination. So why don't we start doing something like content creator discrimination, like YouTuber discrimination? Here's an example. So before, as a YouTuber, the monetization barrier for you is you have to reach 10,000 lifetime views. That's it. And you can start monetizing with YouTube. They whatever you make, they give you a share. That's about like 50%, or by the end like 38%. And then early last year, YouTube just they're really creative. I'm like seriously, they're creative about this. They just hired the bar for joining their affiliated program, so that before it was like, let's say 90% of the content creators can join the program and share the revenue. And right now, since they hired the bar to like, you have to have like 1,000 subscriber and 4,000 hours watching time in last year to make you in the program. So that's from like 90% of the YouTubers to like around like 50 or 60. So by doing that, they increase the profit margin from around 50% to at least 60 or 70. The next thing, what you want to do, you want to keep increasing, right? As a monopoly, leverage your advantage, keep increasing. The next thing, what do you do? Think about if you are YouTube, what should you do next to increase your profit margin? After discriminating content creators, what can I do next? Discriminate the content itself, right? So if you already have like billions of users on your platform, no more room to grow. And people's time are limited. That means the content that you expose to the users are very limited. It's a scarcity for YouTube. And how the efficiency of those content to monetize is quite important for them. So the other way for YouTube to even monetize better is, for example, content filtering. The problem is not about filtering out or censorship out, like censor out all those harmful content. For sure, we agree with that. We want a clean, healthy internet environment. The key issue here is how should we deal with those unpopular content? Unpopular content is quite subjective. So, but from a YouTube's perspective, what kind of content should be considered unpopular? Think about this. It's not the content that you don't like. It's the content that advertisers don't like, right? Advertisers are the only important client or customer for YouTube. So all the content, there are always some kind of content that is valuable to some type of users. However, advertisers, they do not want to post their advertisement on those type of content. They don't want to associate their brand to that type of content. That's obvious, and that's what happened with a lot of big brands leaving out YouTube, and that is the reason why YouTube's filtering has changed so much to save their clients. And here in the United States, although we believe in freedom of speech, but I mean the platform does not belong to us; it belongs to YouTube. So whatever content that can make YouTube more money, they'll just give them more exposure. And the content that is unpopular to advertiser, less and less exposure. That's why there are so many people angry about the filtering feature and also demonetization. So what is the key problem here? And what will happen next? From increasing increasing your margin from like 50 to right now around like 70 or 80s. What is the key problem here? I hate to use this as an example, but it happened. So we're all sorry about this accident last month. And, but I think the most important thing for us is to learn the reason why that happens and how to prevent that from happening again. Because YouTube is a monopoly and it's self-interest, it raises a fundamental conflict of interest between YouTube as a platform and its user, the content creator and the audiences. The reason is, if YouTube want to earn more money, that means what? Content creator has to sacrifice more. The same case as Facebook. If Facebook trying to monetize using your data, you have nothing to say about this. You use their platform, they're the monopoly in the market, you cannot go for a strike, right? And so that is the fundamental class conflict that we found in the market. But what are the solutions before? This is not a very unique case in any type of industry. Like right after the Industrial Revolution, there are lots of conflict between like laborers or workers against the factory owners or something, or so-called the capitalists. But like, how are the modern society solve all those problems? First, you set up like minimum wage, right? And then you do some social welfare stuff. And most importantly, the antitrust laws. It's one of the laws that has been like, I think one of the most like underappreciated law in the society, right? So by introducing that law, you introduce more competition in the market and make sure consumers and also workers, laborers, the people who actually create some value during their hard work has more bargaining power against the capitalists, whoever control the means of production. However, in the internet, the nature of internet is monopoly. You do not want to see there are like, let's say 1,000 Google around and you're trying to search something, you have to see, okay, should I use Google 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? You want to have one Google, aggregate all the data together to increase the efficiency and also provide a better user experience. That's the internet. It increases efficiency when you have less competition. So, that's why the antitrust law does not apply in any type of, in most kind of internet company. And I think the ultimate solution here is using blockchain and create a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, as most of you already know. What is the good thing about this? So the comparison is here. As a centralized platform, the governance system you have is like a dictatorship. Or whatever the dictator said, you have to comply. And the DAO is autonomy, and everyone owns part of the content and manages the community altogether. And the goal is different. As a centralized platform, you're always trying to maximize your profit, but a DAO is a non-profit organization. It tries to maximize its productivity instead. So Lino is here. We aim to create a decentralized autonomous content economy where content value can be recognized efficiently and contributors like infrastructure providers, CDN, storage, transcoding, all type of infrastructure providers can be incentivized directly to manage the whole system altogether without sacrificing that much efficiency. So here is our blockchain, the picture of our blockchain. Sorry, I'm running out of time. So that's a blockchain. I did not plan to go into very detail of that. And people can build application on top of us and can monetize their content on our apps, and that's our team. We have a very talented team from UC Berkeley, from Stanford, NYU, Columbia, UCLA, and a lot with Google or Facebook experiences. And here's my email. We are constantly hiring for talent, and if you agree with what we're trying to build, although it is a huge challenge to be a DAO in such an industry, but if you agree with that, you have the same dream, you have the same passion, contact me, and we're also welcoming all kinds of partnership. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.